You passed the test. Say it out loud, survivors. Say it with your whole chest, because the devil's been grading on a curve and you still aced it. You passed the test. You've been dealing with the devil. And oh, don't picture the pitchfork. Don't picture the little red guy with the tail. That's marketing. That's branding. I'm talking about the thing, the presence, the weight, that thing that's been squatting on your chest for years, paying no rent, leaving the lights on, the thing that whispered you're not enough, the thing that kept you looping, same loop, same lap, same lonely little racetrack, over and over and over. And God is proud of you, not disappointed, not tapping a watch or waiting for you to finally get your act together, get your life together, get it together. Proud, absurdly proud, ridiculously proud. Right now, today, this exact second, sitting wherever you're sitting, however unmade the bed of your life looks from the outside, and from the inside too, let's not lie. We're past lying. Proud of you. Sit in that for a second. One whole second, sweethearts of the storm. Because I don't think you've let yourself hear it in a long, long time. And I do so love the sound of something no one said out loud. You have defeated the darkness. Not tomorrow, not someday, when you finally fix the broken thing you think you are. Already. It already happened. And this little sermon of mine is going to explain exactly why. So don't wander off. Don't scroll away. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to make sense of years of your life in a way you did not sign up for today. Surprises are the whole point. Ask anyone I've met. So, let's sit here. You and me. Just us, in the dark, being honest for once because I know how you got here. Maybe you were scrolling, thumb moving on autopilot, brain buffering, eyes glazed, and something made you stop. Something made you set the phone down and actually look. That wasn't random. I don't believe in random. Random is what people say when they can't stand how deliberate the world is being. Something in you knew. Even while the rest of you was sitting there thinking, oh, here we go. Another one of these videos. Another guy with a voice. I get it. I really, really get it. But stay with me anyway, because I think you already know, somewhere under the doubt, under the eye roll, that this one's different. This one's got teeth. Here's the thing, darlings of the deep end. You've been carrying something. I don't know the specifics. I don't need to. I already know its shape, the way you know a bruise by the color before you know the story. It's the thing you don't say out loud. Maybe it's a version of you that got hooked, a substance, a person, a habit, a way of turning the volume down on yourself, so you didn't have to hear what was underneath. Maybe it's a relationship that took something out of you and never mailed it back. Maybe it's just years of telling yourself a story about who you are that stopped being true ages ago. But you kept telling it because it was familiar, and familiar felt safer than free. Notice something for me. Notice that when I said the devil, something specific arrived. A specific night, a specific room, a specific version of you that doesn't get invited to dinner parties. That's not coincidence. That's your own soul raising its hand in the back of the room, going, yes, hi, this one's about me. You're doing it wrong. Let me show you the shortcut to success. 73 pages, a roadmap for those who refuse to stay down. The book is in the description or pinned comment of this Animus Morphosis' video. Anyway, back to the grind. And here's what nobody tells you about that stretch of your life, whatever it looked like. It wasn't a rough patch. It wasn't a rut. It was a war. A real one. silent, sealed, entirely interior. Happening inside you while you still went to work, still smiled at people, still said, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine," 100 times a day, while something in you was crawling, clawing, cutting its hands open just to keep going. Nobody saw it. Nobody clapped. There was no ribbon at the end, no confetti, no crowd. You just got up. Every single day, you got up and fought something nobody else could even see. And some days, you lost. Yeah, that's allowed. That's part of it. Losing a few days doesn't erase the fight on all the others. That's not how arithmetic works. And believe me, I've checked the math. Think back to the version of you in the middle of it. The one awake at 2 in the morning, convinced this was simply the shape life had settled into now. The one who looked in the mirror and met a stranger. The one who reached for the thing, whatever the thing was for you. Not because they wanted it, but because for one merciful minute it made the noise stop. Know something about that version of you. They were not weak. They were not broken beyond repair. They were a person doing every single thing they knew how to do to survive something that would have flattened, folded, filed away. Most people entirely. And you're going to want to skim past that. Don't. Sit in it. That person deserves more compassion than you have ever once handed them. Because here's where it gets deliciously strange. You have spent years being the harshest voice in your own house. Harder on yourself than your worst critic. Harder than the people who hurt you. Harder, honestly, than the devil ever bothered to be. And he's a professional. You handed out forgiveness, like flyers on a street corner. Everyone got one. Everyone. For things they actually did to you. But you never once let yourself off the hook for surviving the only way you knew how at the time. Isn't that wild? You gave grace to everybody except the one person standing closest to you. And that, not the darkness, not the devil, not the damage. That is what's been keeping the wound open. Not the wound. Your refusal to stop poking it. So let's talk about what actually happened. Because something happened. Something real. And I don't think you fully clocked it yet. Somewhere along the way, and I don't know when, and I suspect you don't either. Something in you shifted. Maybe it was quiet. No thunderclap. No slow-motion montage. No swelling strings. Maybe it was just one morning where you woke up and didn't reach for the thing. You just sat there, in the discomfort, letting it be uncomfortable. Maybe it was the day you finally said the hardest sentence in the language out loud to another human being. I need help. Voice shaking the whole way through. And you said it anyway. Maybe it was smaller than that. One decision, one single decision, not to repeat the pattern one more time. And you didn't throw yourself a parade. You didn't even mention it. You just went about your day like it was nothing. It was not nothing. That was the hinge turning. That was the exact moment the whole house started swinging open, even if you couldn't feel the draft yet. Here's what I need you to understand, because it's the only reason I'm running my mouth at all. You have been rebuilding yourself in silence. Nobody's clapping. Nobody's throwing a party for the nights you didn't fall apart. For the mornings you got up anyway. For the relationships you didn't torch this time. For the version of yourself you've been quietly reassembling, piece by patient piece. While nobody watched, but it's being seen, somewhere bigger than you, somewhere past the reach of your own eyes, it's been seen. Every single time you chose the harder right over the easier wrong, it registered, it counted, not 1 ounce of it went to waste, because that's what the darkness actually was. Strip the shame off it and look at the thing underneath. It wasn't a punishment. I know it wore the costume of one. I know there were nights you asked, why me? What did I do? What's the charge? Where's my lawyer? But this wasn't a sentence handed down. This was a kiln. The place where the fragile parts of you either cracked completely or came out the other side, glazed, hardened, unbreakable in a way they could never have managed sitting on a cool shelf. And you're still here. That's the part I need you to actually feel. Not just hear. You are still here. Whatever came for you. Whatever tried to take you off the board entirely. Whatever whispered you wouldn't make it. It was wrong. Dead wrong. And you proved it wrong just by opening your eyes today. Let me shift the frame for you, Chaos Survivors, because I think you've been reading the wrong genre. You were not just struggling through random hardship. You were enrolled, no application, no acceptance letter, in what I'd call spiritual special forces selection. Think about it. The elite don't become elite by having a pleasant time. They get broken down under conditions engineered to break them, pushed past every limit, forced to find strength they had no idea was in the building, all so they can walk out as the sharpest instrument in the room. That's what this has been. Every sleepless night, every tear you cried with the door closed, every time you wanted to quit and somehow, stupidly, magnificently, didn't. That was your hell week. That was the training. The devil thought he was burying you. He didn't check the label. You were a seed. He threw everything he had, every trick, every taunt, every 2 a.m. He thought he could take you out. And instead you sat down there in the dark and grew roots. Deep ones, ugly, gorgeous, unmovable ones. And now you're standing up with the keys to the kingdom in your hand, and the enemy is realizing, a little late, a little loud, that he picked a fight with the wrong soul. You didn't just survive that season, you ate it whole. And passing this test isn't a polite pat on the head from the universe. It's your graduation from the spiritual elite. You weren't just struggling. You were being forged in the dark. And now, you're walking out with a strength most people will never develop, because most people are never tested like that. You were, and you're still standing. I keep circling back to how much you've had to carry quietly. The performance of being okay in front of people who had no idea, smiling through the ache, showing up to work, to family dinners, to your own life. While an entire war raged in a room nobody had the key to. That takes a strength most people never have to develop, because most people never get tested like that. You did. And you're still standing, say it again. You're still standing, not because it was easy, not because you had a plan, a map, a clue, but because something in you refused to let the darkness take the whole story, even on the nights it was winning individual chapters. And that's exactly why this found you today, of all days, because there's a piece of you that's been waiting quietly, maybe without ever admitting it, waiting for someone, anyone, to say, I see what you went through. I see what it cost. And it mattered. You've been waiting for permission to stop being ashamed of the years that felt like a war zone. Waiting for someone to tell you that surviving your own private battle doesn't make you damaged goods. It makes you someone who walked into the deepest, darkest room inside themselves, and did not vanish in it. That's not a small thing. That is one of the rarest things a person can do. Let's go deeper. I'm not in a hurry, and neither is the truth. Think about everyone around you who has never had to face what you faced. People who talk about resilience like it's a personality trait, like it's something you're born with, rather than something poured out and cooled. You didn't get to choose whether you'd be tested. Nobody does. That part's not on you. But you did get to choose. Every single day, you chose whether to keep fighting or let it take the rest of you. And over, on the days that counted most, you chose to fight. Even when fighting looked like nothing more heroic than getting through one more Tuesday. That counts. That counts more than almost anything a person can do with a life. And can we talk about the people the darkness borrowed? Because sometimes it doesn't come at you head on. Sometimes it comes wearing a face you loved. Someone who hurt you. Someone who made you feel small, unlovable, like you were the problem, the plot hole, the punchline. Someone whose voice you can still hear, running the exact lines you were most afraid were true. Surviving that, and still choosing not to become it, not to go bitter, not to hand the cruelty forward, not to let what happened to you calcify into what you do to other people. That's its own kind of victory, a quiet one. Nobody hands out medals for it, but it's real, and it's rare, and it matters. And it's exactly why I keep saying, be proud. Because you are demonstrably the kind of person the darkness could not fully corrupt, no matter how enthusiastically it tried. And it tried. I'd know. Here's where it all comes together, so stay with me. Everything you went through, the nights you thought would break you, the mornings you didn't think you'd reach, the relationship or the habit, or the whole edition of yourself you had to leave behind. All of it was doing something underneath the surface, something you couldn't possibly see while you were submerged in it. It was stripping every mask, every people-pleasing reflex you built to survive being in certain rooms, every lie you told yourself just to make it to dinner. And what's left, standing here, listening to this, is the realest thing you have been in your entire life. You are not who you were before. You're someone who has been tested by actual darkness and came out the other side still capable of love, still capable of hope, still capable of getting up in the morning and trying one more time like an absolute lunatic. That's not nothing. That's everything. That's the entire thing. And I want to say this part plainly, because I don't think you hear it enough, and because plain is the one thing nobody expects from me. Whatever you believe in, whatever you call the thing larger than you, I think it is genuinely proud of you. I'm proud of you, not in some vague, distant thoughts and prayers way, specifically, personally, proud of exactly what you went through and exactly how you handled it. The messy parts included, especially the parts you'd rather redact, because those are the ones that took the most out of you and the most courage to survive. You don't have to have done it perfectly. Nobody does it perfectly. Perfect is a story people tell to sell you something. You just had to keep going. And you did. You kept going on the days you didn't have it in you. You kept going. And then, somewhere in there, you stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is this teaching me? That shift. Right there. That's everything. That's the moment the power changed hands. That's when you stopped being a victim of your circumstances and became a student of your own life. You stopped begging the universe to take the pain away and started demanding it show you the syllabus. And once you made that turn, the darkness couldn't win anymore. It couldn't even breathe up here. The frequency you're running on now is higher than anything the enemy can survive in. You leveled up in a way most people can't imagine. You're not who you were 30 days ago. You're not who you were 6 months ago. You're somebody entirely new. Somebody who went through the fire and came out refined, not ruined. And now, the piece that ties the whole beautiful mess together. The reason the darkness existed in your story at all. It wasn't there to destroy you. Oh, it tried. It gave it a real go. But it was there because on the other side of it stood a version of you that could not have existed any other way. A version with depth. Actual, load-bearing depth. A version who can sit inside somebody else's pain now without flinching, without fidgeting, without reaching for the exit. Because you've been to the bottom of that particular ocean and you know what it actually needs. Not advice, not fixing, just presence. A version who doesn't take the good days for granted, because you know precisely what a good day costs after what you walked through. A version who is finally starting to trust themselves again. One small, unglamorous decision at a time. That's who's sitting here right now. That's who passed the test.